Muhammad in a 10-round brawl. He would make 3 successful defenses before losing the crown in a unification bout against Michael Spinks. 2 years and 20 pounds later, Qawi became the world cruiserweight champion. There was one defense against Leon Spinks, but a young and up-and-coming Evander Holyfield took the crown away in 15 rounds. A year and a half later, Holyfield was expedient in the rematch. Robert Daniels was the 10th world title fight for Qawi. Qawi then hung up the gloves.
The knockdown seconds, alternate referee Robert Palmer. In the ring at this time, the man in charge of the scheduled 10-round cruiserweight bout, referee SS Steve Smoger. The judges, Eugene Grant, Frank Brunette, and Rocky Castellani. And now, my good friends, introducing the principals. First, in the red corner, wearing the solid black trunks. He weighed in at an even 196 pounds. Now, this gentleman has 32 wins, 9 losses, 1 draw, with 19 knockouts. All the way from the windy city of Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome young Joe Louis. And his opponent in the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with the white trim. Now, he weighed in at an even 198 pounds. Professionally, he has 35 wins, 8 losses, 1 draw, with 20 knockouts. A native of Camden, New Jersey, and now residing in Lindenwold, New Jersey. The former light heavyweight and former cruiserweight champion. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the Camden Buzzsaw, Dwight Muhammad Qawi.
Gentlemen, you were given your instructions at the weigh-in. You obey my commands at all times. You listen to all my instructions and you obey the bell. It's most important. Protect yourself at all times. Corners, I note that both the protectors are up pretty high. I'm not going to call these shots here as low blows. So that'll be in my discretion. Good luck, gentlemen. Touch him up. Touch him, Dwight.
Final instructions from referee Steve Smoger. Dwight Qawi, who at the age of 38 years old gets another kind of test tonight. He went 10 rounds with James Salerno in his last fight, and that was just 6 weeks ago. So a turnaround against young Joe Louis, who is also known to be able to go the distance. And Louis comes out with a left jab. Yesterday in the pre-fight interviews, Louis bumped into Qawi and says, "Hey, don't you remember me?" And Qawi says, "No," and kept walking. Louis then remarked, "He'll remember me tomorrow," and this is tomorrow. So Joe Louis right on top of Dwight Qawi, trying to ruin the dream of the former 2-time world champion. And there they are, head to head in the ring to start this fight. Louis at the age of 34, I guess you can't call him young Joe Louis anymore. He was born in Chicago. His real name is Eddie Taylor, but he reminded some people in the Windy City of the Brown Bomber. Must have reminded him of the physical appearance, maybe facially, certainly not as a fighter. He at one time was a cruiserweight contender. He won his first 22 pro fights before losing the cruiserweight title to Ocasio and getting the other shot against Murphy. But right now it is young Joe Louis who looks at Dwight Qawi as his meal ticket to get back into the picture at the age of 34.
He says that Qawi is only a blown-up light heavyweight. He says he saw the fight with James Salerno that Muhammad Qawi won. He said James did not want to fight that night. Anybody could have beaten him, including me. For young Joe Louis.
Louis is 4 years younger than Qawi, but actually has been fighting as a pro for a longer period of time. Qawi did not turn pro until he was 25 years of age, when he was released from Rahway Prison. And Joe Louis turned pro 1975, 16 years ago. So he has seen it all in the ring, and now trying to dish it back to Dwight Qawi. Qawi, who's gone through a spiritual change in his life the year he took off, 1990. Year of spirituality, he says. He found himself, turned his life around. He's not really possessed by winning the title, but he is now enjoying the ride. He says he's taking one day at a time, peace with himself and enjoys being in the ring. If the title comes, so be it. Pretty much the same attitude of another guy who's gone that road, George Foreman. First round action, a lot of infighting in the first 3 minutes.
And it may have been George Foreman that showed the light to Dwight Qawi, because he fought Foreman way back in March of '88, got stopped in 7, but after that fight he said, I've got to get back to religion. I got to get my mental game prepared for these fights.
And we now have a word as the final bell goes. Another word about that George Foreman fight. He also, how he said, he had to get back down to balloon 230 pounds for the Foreman fight.
And you know, at his height, 5'7", that is extremely short for a heavyweight. And this class is short in this cruiserweight division.
And taking the punching power of George Foreman, who has hit
shots a little bit. Turn your right hand up under.
Dwight
up under
Qawi,
his ribs. When you got him in the corner, lay on him. Lay on him
George
in the corner,
Foreman.
okay? Lay on
Matthew Saad Muhammad.
I thought you were going to say James Salerno. There is Dwight Muhammad Qawi. Mike Hall in his corner, along with Ron Gallo, giving him instructions. That first round, your corner tells you what's going on. That's when you alter your style. This is the most important round in boxing. Between the first and second round, they tell you what to do. You have to depend on your corner.
Let him out, Joe. Let him out, Joe.
And by the second round, you start laying that battle plan, realizing that you've got 10 rounds to go. This is just the way Dwight Qawi wants to fight, toe-to-toe. He says, I make no bones about it. I get in there and get with the program. And he gets with the program with a left hook.
And Joe Louis comes back.
Well, Joe said, I'm going to beat him at his own game. I'm going to stand in there and stand toe-to-toe with him. So it could be 10 rounds of toe-to-toe fighting.
Young Joe Louis, since he was out for a couple of years, came back to wield off 4 straight victories, but his last fight, which was 7 months ago, he was stopped in the 6th round by Ricky Parkey.
He said he got caught by Parkey with a good right hand, but he said, I stood up after he got knocked down. I told the referee, said, I'm okay, I'm young Joe Louis. The referee didn't seem to be impressed with that, though.
He has legally changed his name. I don't know how much that's going to work when he gets to be like 60, 70 years old. Smacking back and forth. Well, Qawi 6 weeks ago had an elusive James Salerno who was on his toes, always moving away. And now he's got a guy in young Joe Louis who is right on top of him. And Sean had just mentioned Qawi would prefer this style.
And you see Qawi going under and over. Look at these shots in the middle, up under the elbows, and then over the tops of the gloves by Qawi.
He is now cracking through young Joe Louis, blood coming from the nose of Louis.
A lot of pushing in there and shoving. This is a difficult fight to be in because you're so physically tired. The arms are tired, you're catching the punches, you're also pushing and pulling. You know, Dwight Qawi is the one giving room here. He's the one taking the steps back.
Qawi is ranked number 16 by the WBC, getting into the rankings. Down to the final 10 seconds of the second round, and we will pause for a word from your local cable systems. Budweiser presents USA's Tuesday Night Fights.
Emergency Chiropractic.
The kind of care.
And zooming in from our balcony cam, we head into round number 3 between former 2-time world champion Dwight Qawi in the black with a white trim against young Joe Louis in the all-black trunks. And this has been a head-to-head fight. They have been standing up against one another, pounding away through the first couple of rounds. The big guys are in the ring tonight. Main event, heavyweight. Riddick Bowe, undefeated in his first 24 fights. Moving into title contention, ranked in the top 10 in all classifications. And he goes up against the veteran Philip Brown, who has his golden opportunity tonight.
And you can really see the difference in these cruiserweights of the fighter who is concentrating heavily on where to put the shots. Look at the accuracy of Qawi's punches compared to Lewis. Lewis is throwing the shots where he can land them. Qawi thinks about where he wants to place them, then he puts them in there in pinpoint accuracy. Young Joe Louis is a boxer fighting without direction, too. He didn't have any idea what he was going to do in this match. He didn't know a lot about Dwight Qawi, but he had no fight plan. He has no buddy to help him figure out how to beat these fighters.
Qawi inside, scoring heavily here in the third round. When you talk to Qawi about the future fights and possible championships, the name that comes to his mind first is Bobby Ches, guy he has never met along the way. But you could just see his thinking. He wants to go with a guy who has been around.
He said he met him a couple times, but he's never fought him.
Inside the final minute of the third, Qawi says he is now more of a thinking fighter.
Ooh. Good body shot from Qawi. Look at him under. He's going under and then over with the punches. This comes from experience. Go down underneath the elbows and over the tops of the gloves. And you look who's covering up is Joe Louis.
This is just a process of wearing his opponent down. It is now happening. Louis, though, tries to bust out inside 20 seconds in the third. Al Albert along with the champ, Sean O'Grady. Budweiser presents USA's Tuesday Night Fights from Atlantic City inside the final 10 seconds of the third. And another good round for Qawi as he continues to grind it out. Qawi picking up big points in the last couple of rounds and wearing down young Joe Louis. And to start this round, it is Qawi who is actually holding and trying to frustrate young Joe Louis even more to start the fourth round.
Really connecting in that third round was Qawi. Louis was staggered. He was stunned. I don't know about you, Al, but really kind of makes me feel funny to say Joe Louis has been hit, he's been hurt, or he's been staggered. You know, thinking back on the Brown Bomber, difficult to do.
Well, we could just call him Eddie Taylor.
Yeah, that's right.
Do not recognize his name change. It more as an insult to Joe Louis than anything else, like a 215 hitter calling himself young Joe DiMaggio. Although this fighter, young Joe Louis, did start very well on his first 22 professional fights, landed a shot at the cruiserweight title, losing to Ozzy Ocasio. He had one more cruiserweight shot, but now it is all downhill for young Joe Louis. At the age of 34, this should tell him where he stands. Dwight Qawi now in control of this fight, fourth round, and for the first time I think in 4 rounds Qawi is a step back, and that's only for assessment. Halfway through round number 4. It is scheduled for 10. Qawi at the age of 38 getting in the rounds. Went 10 rounds just 6 weeks ago.
And he's setting the pace here in this fight. He's been busy and active, although this round he's taking a step back and taking a break and trying to land the punches from a little bit wider stance, longer position. The blood's been pouring out of the nose of Louis since the second round. That's why.
50 seconds left in the fourth. And this has been a dissection by Dwight Qawi, starting early by going to the body, tying up Joe Louis.